Time to get you hooked again. Welcome inside another edition of the Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Always excited to be with you and excited to be in person this week with my guy Vince Young and Mack Brown. I'm Bob Ballou. You can always rate and review us at the Stampede UT anywhere on social media. Also catch this podcast anywhere you get your podcast. We've got a great show this week, and we're going to dive into a little bit of what Conte talked about at his town hall. Excited about that. We're going to give some thoughts on Seattle knocking off New England in the Super Bowl. And we're going to dive into which teams outside of Austin are kind of catching our eye this offseason. Everything that Lane Kiffin's done at Ole Miss, at LSU, and what's happening at Ole Miss. So we'll get into all that. But let's start with Conte in the town hall. There were a lot of always important nuggets and information that he brings out. And one of them is that the spring game is returning this year. Listen, as a coach, I would imagine you like the idea of a spring game so fans get to see your team, but you always know you're not going to show a whole lot. It's not going to be, the end all be all of anything that you guys are going to do. Sark last year said he didn't want to have it just because of the younger players, how many younger players and install and all that kind of stuff. It's a little similar with as many transfers as they brought in this year, but everybody wants to see Arch. So I wonder how much is what, and did you enjoy the spring game?
I did, and I talked to Coach Paterno and asked him, "Would you have a spring game again?" He said, "No, I think Ja'Kana Carter ruined his knee in a spring game." Right. So the fear for the coach is somebody gets hurt. So what we started doing was, and I always liked having the young players have to play in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
And they're on TV and people are screaming. In Texas, you're going to have 50,000+ people come to watch a spring game.
Right.
So what I did is I would take the Vince Youngs and the Ricky Williams and I would do thud, which means you don't wrap up, don't throw them to the ground. Yep. You still do everything full speed. And if you're practicing a thud scrimmage right, you get a lot out of it because you got to have the right angles. You can thud and hit somebody. Just don't sling them down. Don't hit the quarterback. And then after 20 plays for Vince, I would take him out and then go ahead and scrimmage and turn it loose because the young ones need to hit. And it's Vince had been hit enough. Ricky Williams had been hit enough. So why hit them in a spring game to make somebody excited when you're going to lose them possibly for the opening game? So I thought it was great for the fans. It's great momentum. They're doing this. It seems like we tied Fan Appreciation Day to it. And my God, Vince would sit there for 6 hours
all day. I think that was my spring game right there.
That was your spring game, and then
he hurt his arm.
Well,
so much.
There would be 6 hours of lines, and you couldn't leave that poor little kid that's crying and wanting Vince Young's autograph. So we'd sit there till the end, and we'd let some go, but usually the seniors stayed. Mm-hmm. I just thought it was a wonderful day. The fans are so wonderful and come and scream and shout, and we gripe about the ones that say negative things on the internet that don't have names and don't have faces, but really and truly the fans that come and go on the road and they're so loyal, and this is just a chance to pay them back. And I see pictures today of a little kid that's 30 will say, here's Vince, and it's just it's really fun. What do you think, Vince?
The two things for me is the first thing is for me to work on some things that I wanted to work on as a quarterback. At that time, it was 3-step drop game, making sure I'm getting guys out the huddle. You have referees there. You got to get your timing down. Like all that type of stuff is very important to an offensive standpoint, or defenses and special teams as well. But for me as a leader, that's what I was working on, making sure, my offense, we showing Coach Brown what he want to see the rest of the offensive coaching staff. Because we going up against a really good defense, first of all.
For sure.
So you get to test yourself against your own guys, your own brothers.
Yeah, that thud's 1 against 1.
Exactly.
It's the best against the best. So they didn't want to get embarrassed.
So they thudding and going at it. So that's my mindset when I'm going into a spring game. And then the fan part of it, that's one thing that I do love about Coach Brown and the rest of the coaching staff, that we got an opportunity to say thank you to them, because they do a lot for us. They travel with us. They support us. They cry with us, they happy with us, they all of the above. And when you have that type of, fan base that love you just like that, and then you get an opportunity to say thank you. And that's why Coach just said, like, we had a set time that it ended and it was still a line. And it's kind of like, you can't just lead them. So you just stay there all day and just sign autographs.
Yeah, you've been standing there 5 hours. We'll see you.
Yeah, right,
Sorry,
right.
see you next year. So
It's one thing if
but-
it's
but-
30 minutes and you cut it
Yeah.
off, there are a million people. But if
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you've been there a while,
Well, and Bob, Vince made a great point. This is game day. And for all of those young ones, I mean, Vince still treated it like game day. But for instance, when you open up with Ohio State, you didn't have that feeling for those young ones. And because the playoffs went so long, and we'll talk about that, but I think they're too long.
Yeah.
When you finish the national championship game on January 19th, it's hard to have a spring game because you're beaten up and you're tired and you're worn out. But that cost an opportunity to go through a pregame meal, go through a pregame routine. And that's what Vince and the guys would do for the spring game, and they'd be more prepared for the opener because
And
the
to add to that-
freshmen hadn't done it.
Yeah, and to add to that, I mean, and then a lot of us older guys, we want to see our young guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't see the highlights for them for come from high school. We was like, okay, this look good. Like I remember I was seeing Jamal Charles come in. I'm like, wow, I can't wait to see him play. And then when Coach, he said, y'all guys are done for the day. We actually are looking at these young guys to see how they can fit in and help us be
And coach them.
better winners and coaching
Yeah.
to help them. So I do. I am a fan of that too, giving the younger guys some support as well.
And we always took video of the young ones. So we'd show all the running backs in front of the team, Jamal Charles, and say,
Right.
pretty
better pick
good.
it up, man.
It's pretty good.
You got a little competition now.
He is really good. But Vince made another point last week about the transfers that are coming in.
Yeah.
They've never been through a spring game with this bunch. So that also lets them go through a routine and pregame because everybody does it a little bit different. And Coach Sark will do it a little bit different than where they were at Auburn or NC State or where they were. So I just think it's really a good thing.
It's a nice celebration of but you don't play a game for 8 months, so
No,
something
yeah,
in
it's a
between is nice
closure.
to nice closure to the spring and then move on to the summer. And listen,
Even
you can get hurt anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as we worry, we talked about the bowl game. Do you play your best guys? Because does the game really matter? It does matter.
Yeah.
Because it's a nice springboard into what you're doing next.
And even everybody else that's working, the clock guys, the concession stands,
Yeah.
everybody is getting a routine together for a new year because it's not a new face. It's not just on the football field or coaching staff, but I'm pretty they hired some more people to do this, bring more Bud Lights or whatever it may be. Everybody going through their whole routine. So it's actually pretty good for everybody, actually.
One of the other big changes that's coming to DKR Texas Memorial at some point, grass. Going back to a grass field. And Vince, you had the grass field. Mack, you had the grass field for the first 10 years. Then it switched to turf in 2009. What do you like? What are the differences? Like, I think grass is pretty. I think everybody in the SEC has grass, if I'm not mistaken. So I understand why you're going back to it. What do y'all think? Do you like the change? Do you not like the change?
Yeah, I love grass.
Yeah.
Because, getting used to that gravel or whatever it may be, you sometimes tires, and they all in your eyes, and sometimes your feet get planted, and that's how these injuries come. And one thing about being on there all day, your back gets hurting a little bit. So I like
you're
grass.
getting old.
Yeah, I'm getting old, so I like grass. But grass was always it's a little bit softer when you get tackled because sometimes when them beads or whatever get stuck in there, that ground gets a little hard, and then when it gets hot, oh my God. So it's probably 98, but on that field,
I've seen numbers at 140.
Exactly.
It gets up there.
it get up there. So I do definitely like the grass that we're going back to that.
We saw it one day at 157.
Yeah.
And that's when we had to start going at 8 o'clock instead of 6 o'clock. I love turf. And I think it's a great advantage for your team because when somebody comes from up north, Ohio State comes down and it's 100 degrees on that turf, they're going to get really hot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you're not as hot because you're on it every day. And they've made them now where they're really safe. That they're all approved by the NFL. Some of them say there's less concussions because it is softer than a hard turf. You're less likely to get beat on a rain day because all the mud, if it rains so hard, the turf, it can go away. If it rains for 3 days with the grass, it can't. And I understand traditional grass. I understand people loving the grass. My opinions, I like it. We put it in at North Carolina because we had to. Their field was bad.
Yeah.
And there's 28 sports. They all practiced on it.
Hmm.
So you had to have it
Right.
at that time at North Carolina, or you had to keep all the sports off the field. They were sodding it during the season, trying to get it where you could play on Saturdays.
Mhm.
And then they had a high school state championship game there. It rained. And the coach with all the speed got so mad at me. I'd just gotten there. And he got so mad at me because I cost him the game because of a bad field. And I said, I've been here a month. So I don't know that it's my field yet. But and then we put in turf and I named it after him.
Oh, nice. There you go. I do want to ask you a question about that. It just popped in my head. I think of Ames, Iowa, in this sense. Anybody ever grow the grass out on you to slow you down?
Oh my gosh, you go to Ames, it's up to your ankles.
Yeah, Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
They use it for their advantage, and some people come with the spikes not right. You don't have the long ones. You're finna be slipping and sliding all day.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. You can't do that with turf.
Right.
And we started watering the turf on really hot days to cool it off too. So we learned some things. The other thing is you save water, which we're in a time in our country where water's a priority, and we're concerned about it. In fact, Mr. Pierce, who started the Houston Rodeo, told me one time that at some point water is going to cost more than alcohol because we're going to have such a need for it, and it you can cut back on the maintenance too because you don't have to cut it, you don't have to mark it, and the other thing I liked is you bring in recruits, you got it lined off, it never leaves, because it just stays there. If you bring recruits in for grass, you got to line it up every week and get it going. So there's obviously positives and negatives, and I totally get what Vince is saying too.
How about the calendar? CDC talked a little bit about. I did enjoy him saying we're keeping in Ohio State and Michigan, and then we knew this, but they were keeping Ohio State and Michigan on the schedule the next 2 years because, as he said, I want a piece of them when they a piece of their rear end when they come to Austin.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have to coach.
That's what I was just going to say. I love him saying
Steve
that.
probably said, well,
"Can we not?
Right?
Can we not?
Can we delete that?"
Right. But it does lend back into that conversation we've had a few times about what do you do with your schedule now that you're moving to a 9-game SEC schedule? Do you get rid of the Notre Dame game, the home and home that you have with them in a few years? Do you get rid of these Ohio State and Michigan games, which nobody wants? I mean, everybody wants to see those games, but it makes a lot more sense. He also said he wants to get rid of the championship game, which I know we've talked about a bunch too. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, I like the big games.
Yeah.
Because it especially early, you can really find out who you are as a team, which is going to be needed because if the college keep doing what they're doing, every year you're gonna know who your team is. So until they get it structured right and get it better than me, I like the big games. Hey, you guys want to play in the big show upstairs in the NFL, you're going to have to play hard every week. So you can get 1 or 2 games, which I feel like instead of a spring game, have to do like some of the NFL guys are doing now, go travel and practice against somebody. And, that can be called for a spring game or a preseason game. But to me, I like playing the big games, the Notre Dames of the world, because of the fact it's the fan base, it's what everybody want to see. Coach Schaefer's just said it, man. Like, they playing hard teams every week, and to see the outcome of women's basketball taking off like that, that's the goal. And then all you gotta do is do everything else and structure everything right and get the scheduling right, and then everything else will just play itself out. But me, and I'm pretty sure the other players out there right now, I think they love competition. Competition, and it shows you who you are, man. And you can't just go off while just the winning part of it. Like, everybody feels good when you win. I tell my son and my daughter, it's like, yeah, you feel good right now. But really true who you are is when you're going through that adversity or that loss. It really shows who you are, your character is, and how you can be successful, not just in sports, but for the rest of your life when you go through situations like that. So I like the tough games, hard game. They just got to fix the schedule and get it right.
I know that you got to play in the horseshoe and y'all won that big game, but this is where I think, but this is where I think it's interesting from
25-22, last seconds.
Yeah. It wasn't easy.
2 minutes left, little fade to Limas in the end zone. We're good.
It wasn't easy.
But who remembers?
I mean, the knock on Hamby, the tight end in the end zone, one of the great plays I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Little
Said Griffin. Yep. Yeah, we could do this all day. I know.
Yeah.
But as a coach,
Ramonce Taylor nearly taking a knee in the end zone, then running it out 45 yards.
It was like, no, go.
Absolutely. Great job, Ramonce. Whoa, great decision. You fooled them looking like you were going to take a knee.
We practice that all week. Week.
Yeah, it's a hard one to pull off.
From a coach's perspective, you can look at this a lot of different ways. I mean, if you lose that Ohio State game, you might not play for the national championship. Look at Texas this year. They lose the Ohio State game. It's one extra loss on their schedule. Because they lose twice in the SEC, they don't go to the playoff. As from a coach's perspective, do you look at it differently now and saying, maybe we do just do 3 quote unquote easier games or whatever word you want to use, and then play our schedule and see what happens?
Yeah, I get with the college football playoff committee and say,
what matters?
help me now.
Yeah.
You just said that strength of schedule matters. I played Ohio State, got beat, and it dropped me out. So if I got 10 wins instead of 9, I'm in. So why don't I play nobody and get in? Or you tell me that you're going to start giving me points. So Chris Del Conte is either the best athletics director in the country or in the group.
Yeah.
Chris needs to get with the most powerful athletics directors, the commissioners, and go to the college football playoff committee in representing the coaches and say, tell us.
Yeah.
We got a schedule. You tell us how to schedule. Our goal is to win the national championship. What's our best path? Guys want to play great games. Fans want you to have great games. Coaches want to have great games. But don't put your school in a disadvantage because they're saying one thing and doing another.
Right.
Let's make them step up, and let's make them do what they say.
Yep.
One more thing Chris Del Conte pointed out in his town hall this week were the patches, the advertisements that are going to go on jerseys. He said, if I can do my part to get our ecosystem where we don't need that, I'm always going to do that because it's the tradition of the uniform. Don't want this to look like NASCAR where you got 100 different, people on your uniform,
agree.
but some of those schools need it. Some of those schools need that to help boost their program. Texas is in a great position where they may not need it. Can you believe we're at this point?
Yeah. When it was funny when Vince's bunch had us rolling so much, Nike came in and wanted to change the uniforms like Oregon. So I went to Coach Royal and I said, Coach, Nike wants to come. And I said, why don't you be in this meeting with me? So Coach sat there and he wouldn't look up, wouldn't speak.
I would have loved to see that face.
Yes.
And I said, Coach, what do you think? He said, when Joe Paterno changes Penn State's uniforms, we'll change Texas. But we're not changing those uniforms because that's our pride. That's who we are. It's what we are. So we actually, to help Nike, we started doing practice uniforms that were black and orange and gray. And we did that just to help them because then they could sell those more than anything else. But to me, where do we stop? The toothpaste out of the tube. Yeah. We're starting to put stuff on arena floors. We're starting to put stuff in stadiums. Who's going to buy Texas football? I mean that. So I think Chris is right.
Yeah,
I think we need to slow it down.
I'm with Chris.
You can spin it either way. I mean, they put the logo on the field last year.
Yeah, you can do that. You can have buses driving around with logos around the stadium, but the tradition of the Texas Longhorn is so beautiful. We don't need all that.
Nothing like those icy whites.
Ain't nothing like the
icy whites.
I mean, like Coach just said, I can see that these other schools, but Texas, we don't need all that. And our ecosystem is doing pretty good.
Well, and I think since we've all agreed that the modern plan is not sustainable financially, we need to work on the plan to get control of it instead of all the schools having to start in some ways cheapening who they are just for logos and all that. And it's so I think we need to just look at the plan, and that should be part of it.
And you can look at the Super Bowl commercials. It's getting out of hand.
Yeah.
It's just too much now. It's like, what? Is this still a commercial?
Yeah.
And I get it. You pay for it, and that's what everybody wants to do. But y'all keep forgetting about the players and the coaches. We still got to play. We got to sit here and wait till this commercial over with.
Yep.
And I'm like,
40 minutes.
My adrenaline is pumping. I'm ready to throw a touchdown pass, and I'm still here.
It's like
commercial break.
4 minutes later, and you're still just standing there.
Every time you look up, I get it. People like, why you got to pay them bills? I'm like, but can we just play football?
Yeah.
The game was supposed to start at 7:30. It is almost 8 o'clock. We still ain't got on the field yet.
And then they'll go kickoff commercial.
Yeah.
3 and out commercial, punt commercial.
Oh my
punt,
God.
And it's like,
Can we just play football?
Yeah. And Bob, I agree with Chris on I think if we're going to have the best 12 teams in the playoff. And if we expand to 16, I think we should quit playing conference championship games.
Yeah.
Because we said only 1 in 9 in the playoffs of those conference championship teams. And this year, the ACC champion didn't even get in, and Miami did. So we've obviously watered down the conference championship. So have a tiebreaker and then move back to 0 week. Start season earlier. Go ahead and play.
Because those bye weeks and
then
for the championship and semifinal, that is too long.
It's too long.
That's too long.
It's
So let's play
Georgia
every
lost
week.
both games.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Let's play every week.
Yeah.
Let's go. And let's get college football back to Vince played on January 4th. That was the national championship. We played Alabama, I think, on January 10th.
Mm-hmm.
So let's be through by January 10th. Let's let the NFL have their playoffs. We've always been separate. We've always taken care of each other. But let's make it better for fans. I can't imagine having to sit. We waited forever from the Colorado game to the USC game.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
full month.
We waited a full month, and here we are scrimmaging young ones and trying to act like it's spring practice. We're trying to act like to them it's okay, and it's not. We're worn out, and but you don't want to lose your team, and I think that's happening some. Just sitting and watching those teams that have to wait, and then it's hard to just turn it back on.
And then it goes back to what we talk about every week: the distractions and the tampering.
Yep.
During those times.
Yeah. No.
And then all y'all did was went out and played the best college football game that's ever been played. So
we did. But we had to manage their legs.
Yeah.
We had to keep them sharp. You had to hit enough, but not get somebody hurt. I mean, it's definitely a balancing act.
Yeah, it is. Vince, you mentioned the commercials. We won't talk commercials, but we will talk about the Super Bowl. We're going to talk a little Seattle, New England when we come back. Some Texas Exes with some really poignant moments as the Seahawks win the franchise's second ever Super Bowl. We'll talk about that when we come back. This is The Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns. We're back after this.
Texas has some of the highest property taxes in the country. And if you're a property owner like we are, you know it hits harder than a blindside sack. That's why every winning season starts with the right playbook. When it comes to lowering your property taxes, Texas Pro Tax has been calling winning plays for 38 seasons. They're the #1 defense against soaring tax bills, the kind of defense that stuffs rising values at the line and sends them back to the locker room.
Do your homework before you just let any firm suit up for you. I've looked at the stats, and Texas Pro Tax doesn't just win, they dominate.
We're talking big gains, deep passes, and the kind of tax-saving drives that make your wallet do a victory dance. While the other firms are warming the bench, Texas Pro Tax is driving the field, breaking tackles, and putting up game-changing Texas-sized tax savings.
Stampede listeners, your minimum fee is waived. No flags, no fumbles.
Visit TexasProTax.com, sign up and enter code STAMPEDE to join the winning team, and finally put your property taxes on the bench.
Welcome back to The Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns. He's Vince Young. I'm Bob Ballou, and it's time for our new segment, Texas Pro Tax Pros. When it comes to lowering your property taxes, Texas Pro Tax has been calling winning plays for 38 seasons. And as a Stampede listener, when you sign up at Texas Pro Tax, your minimum fee will be waived. Just go to TexasProTax.com, sign up, and enter code STAMPEDE to join the winning team and put your property taxes on the bench. Let's talk a little Super Bowl. Final game of football. I mean, I know there's some other leagues that try to, yeah, we're still going, but the final NFL game until we get to September. Boy, what a day for Seattle. Just a dominant performance in that 29-13 win. I'm going to assume I know the answer to this, but what stood out to you the most?
What stood out to me the most? Kyle Shanahan and Chris Sims standing together, talking.
That was great.
For the pregame show.
Yeah, that was great.
First of all, I was very impressed with Kyle. He spoke really well. He talked about you. I guess he got a little gray hair, got a suit on. You know, he don't wear suits. So to see those two guys, because when I was a freshman, I came into Texas. Kyle and Chris Sims were roommates, and to see them on TV speaking together, talking football, it was like in our group text as UT group text, we got a big group text. Everybody posting the picture of them back in the day.
I was gonna say that picture was hilarious. Seeing them like in 02 or 03.
Exactly. So that was impressive because I was screaming all night, Longhorns, Longhorns, Longhorns. And they started it off, and then a lot of our Longhorns was making a lot of plays and on both sides of the ball. Even seeing what's the name, for New England.
Brandon Schooler.
Schooler, he was down on that punt return every time.
He was waiting for that ball.
He
somebody
almost
to
blocked
drop
the
it,
punt.
and he almost blocked the punt.
And yeah, so it was just good to see our Longhorns.
That was almost Longhorn on Longhorn crime, because if he comes in and gets Michael Dixon, now we're in a different boat. You mentioned, we've talked so much about the Seattle defensive line, how good they were.
Oh, wow.
But boy, for Byron Murphy II to have the year he had, and then in the Super Bowl to come up with 2 sacks and a fumble recovery is pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, man. I mean, he's just a kid that wants it. You can see the determination in him. Every down, he's causing havocs, not just for, himself, but he's opening up lane for his teammates. So I was happy for him, man. He played really well, and he's going to be a name that they're going to be saying for a long time.
No doubt. I mentioned Michael Dixon. 7 punts on the day, 48 yards per punt. And he downed them inside the 23 times. One was inside the 5. Another one was, or 2 of them were inside the 5.
Wow.
On that one end. He's phenomenal. I don't know if you probably didn't get to see this, but he strolled into the media availability and he had a cigar in his hand and he was on FaceTime with his buddies in Australia talking about how great it was and whatever. And I'm like, this guy is living the life.
Yes.
How impressed are you with what
I'm
he's
very
able to do?
impressed because he's opening up doors for more international players for one, and not only just at the punting position, but at other positions and things like that. Even though some D linemen and things like that. But when you have that, and I love that the NFL is respecting that and showing that, to know that any other player outside of the United States can be this same player as Dixon, and for us to have him at Texas. And we was talking about it, excited to have him at the University of Texas. And then he was the best punter in college. And then to see him do it right now on the NFL level as well, I mean, he is really good, actually.
I think people kind of forget this, and I brought it up. Texas played Missouri in the 2017 Texas Bowl in Houston. Michael Dixon was the MVP of the game.
Exactly.
How does a punter become MVP? That's how good he is.
That's very good.
So it's pretty special.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about one more guy before we bring Mack back in and talk a little Drake. Man, I want to ask you about the other quarterback, because Sam Darnold went through it in the NFL. When he was with the Jets, they called it seeing ghosts.
Yeah.
And he couldn't deliver the ball. It was bad. To have the patience to stick with it. He leads Minnesota to an incredible year last year, and then they're like, we're going to go with J.J. McCarthy. Seattle's like, we'll take him. Y'all went like 14-3. We'll take a quarterback like that. And for him to get a Super Bowl, how incredible is that? Having played the position in the league, to know what Sam went through to get where he is now. How difficult a journey was that?
And a lot of people, he couldn't do nothing with the Jets. Michael Vick was there. He couldn't do nothing. Geno Smith was there. He couldn't do nothing. Then you bring Sam, even Sanchez was there.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't those quarterbacks' fault that they didn't have a good team. So to see him stick with it and see that he had an opportunity, that he stayed with it, didn't give up on himself, because anybody can give up on yourself when you going against that New York media and those fans and them people. It can be draining, and it can make you feel really bad as a quarterback. But, he had another opportunity, like you said, in Minnesota. He stuck with it, just like the Genos. They stuck with it. And knowing that, hey, I can't play this game. I just need a better team around me and better help. And in Minnesota, he had an opportunity to go in after what's the name get hurt, and he showcased his talent. What we all believed that he was the type of player there, and then get another opportunity with Seattle. He didn't have to do anything with that defense. All you got to do is maintain the game, don't turn the ball over, and just play the position. And that's what he did. And he had a tremendous defense that he was playing with. But also he felt that he was growing, and he made less mistakes, and that's all you need to do when you play in that position. Less mistakes gonna win you a championship a lot.
And it wins Seattle the championship. No turnovers in the playoffs for the first time. It's incredible.
Yes.
I think they went through this run without turning the ball over. Just incredible stuff. Hey, as always, win big savings on your property taxes with Texas Pro Tax. Sign up and use code STAMPEDE at texasprotax.com. All right, so the flip side, as Mack Brown rejoins us now, the flip side of that for the Patriots side is that didn't go Drake Maye's way on Sunday. We've talked so much over the last few weeks about how he would be the youngest quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl. Only Dan Marino was younger starting a Super Bowl. It's a lot of pressure on a guy to go in and try to do that. We did mention, I off air, thought Josh McDaniels was very conservative. It was a very conservative game plan going in, so he didn't give Drake a lot of hope. But what did you think of Drake's performance, and how proud are you of just him getting to this point?
Well, there's a reason that nobody that young's ever won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Number one,
Truth.
and you know, I go back to and Vince said Seattle was going to win. I thought they probably would, but I couldn't.
Well, you guys stick with your guy.
Got to stick for the
Yeah.
guy. But they killed the 49ers.
Yeah.
I mean, they just killed them. So and you don't kill people at that stage in this game. So and the left side couldn't block Seattle.
Mm.
And Vince said that last week. But Drake Maye has had a wonderful 2 years in the NFL. He is he's got some Vince to him. He can run, he can throw, he's accurate, he's tough, he's a great leader. And I'm gonna tell you now, this will fuel the fire with him because he wasn't pleased leaving that game. And he's a competitor. Vince is a competitor, and that's what people don't see. That they see Vince smiling, they see Drake being nice and smiling. Vince, these guys hugging kids and all that. Man, when you step in the arena, it's time to go.
Oh yeah, showtime.
It is time to go. So I am so proud of him on the field after 2 years. Only played 2 years of college football, 23 years old. And I'm so proud of the class that he shows off the field and on the field. Even after that, the other night, you could have gotten mad, could have not spoken to the media, could have done all the things that we would have wanted to do, but he didn't do it. So I can't wait to watch his journey. There's a lot of fun times ahead. And I said, when he was drafted, he will win a Super Bowl. It wasn't last week, but he's going to win a Super Bowl. And I'm going to be so proud of him every day that he's out there, and just give him a bigger hug when he wins it all.
Pretty incredible what New England has to be able to get a guy like that and know you're secure for your future. That's got to feel pretty good. I did want to ask you about one more guy. Vince, we talked about this a second ago, but I thought it was so cool. You know, Quandre Diggs was such an important piece to that Seattle puzzle for 5 years playing the game. He's on the practice squad, but he's going to get a ring. He's going to be, you know, he was a part of this in a way. How happy are you for Quandre?
I'm so happy. Quandre is tough as nails.
Yeah.
I mean, you go back. I see video now of him in the Texas A&M game, intercepting balls, returning punts, and the man could just play. And everybody said in recruiting he's too short, and he plays big.
Okay.
He does.
He not short. He like Diego, man. he will bite you.
He'd knock you out,
So
man.
I'm really proud he got a ring. And there's Amari Gaynor was a young guy from our team at North Carolina that was on the practice squad for New England, and Chaz Surratt was a linebacker and special teams player for Seattle that's getting a big ring too. It's like Vince getting a national championship ring. There aren't many of those out there.
Yeah.
There's only one a year, and it's really hard to get there, and even harder to win when you do that. And Chaz Surratt was a 5-star quarterback out of Charlotte. So we actually said North Carolina had 2 quarterbacks in the game. One of them was just playing linebacker.
Exactly.
So that was it. But you can't imagine it changes your life when you win a national championship, when you win a Super Bowl. Aaron Ross won both.
Yeah.
David Thomas won both.
David Thomas.
I mean, there's very few of those guys that win any. So congratulations to the Seahawks. Both teams for getting there, but to the Seahawks for Quandre, the guys from Texas. Byron kind of upset everything up.
Murph, yeah. Big
Murph. Murph was tearing them all up. But congratulations.
Michael Dixon hits every punt inside the one.
He
It's
really
crazy.
does. He makes the difference in the ball game.
Yeah.
Great job, Mike.
With what you do. So congratulations to all the guys that got there, and even more so for the ones that won.
I need more of that Australian accent, Vince.
Great job, Mike.
I love it. All right, we got more to come here on the Stampede. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about college football and some of the schools that have maybe made an impression on us over the last few weeks. That's coming up. This is the Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns. We're back after this. Final segment of the Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Welcome back in alongside Vince Young and Mack Brown. I'm Bob Ballou, and we're going to dive into some of the teams outside of Austin catching our eye this offseason. I think obviously the biggest storyline in college football, beginning of December, well, even earlier than that, was what Lane Kiffin was going to do at Ole Miss. He ends up leaving for LSU. LSU with the number 1 class in the portal. Ole Miss with the number 2 class in the transfer portal. And then Texas number 3. I think it's interesting in so many facets of what all of this means in the long run. Can we change the calendar to make it so that a coach doesn't have to bail on his team right before the playoffs start? Ole Miss handled it extremely well. As they both move forward, they're both in good positions now. What do you make of LSU and Ole Miss and kind of where they stand?
Man, Ole Miss. I like Ole Miss. I
Uh-huh.
thought that was a great story. When you got a situation like that, I don't think anybody in the world could handle the best way that they handled it with your coach leaving like that. And I picked them to finish the season in the national championship
Yeah.
because they had something to play for. So I like their team. I like their quarterback. He's an unbelievable kid. He's having fun, and he led his team. So I'm looking forward for that Ole Miss, and I'm really want to see what's going to go on with Vanderbilt without that quarterback. Who's
Yeah.
going to come in and step in on that position? Because Diego did a really good job, and from the whole situation to getting that university to even a basketball team, I think is doing really well right now. To see Vanderbilt taking off how they are, and you don't even look at Vanderbilt like that, it's pretty impressive. So I want to know who's going to be that quarterback that's going to win that battle in the spring and coming up this season. Who's going to take that position and do the same thing Diego did.
And same thing for Indiana, right? I mean,
Yeah,
to get
exactly.
Fernando Mendoza in and win the national championship and do what they've done with the senior experience that Kurt Signetti wanted to play with.
Correct.
Yeah, Indiana and Vanderbilt like the two model programs right now of what you're supposed to be
Right.
trying to do
And Texas Tech
in Texas
Yeah,
Tech.
Texas Tech.
doing the same with the money and the evaluation. And I think I saw Coach Signetti say the other day, I should quit. He really should.
Yeah.
Urban Meyer asked me after he won the national championship at Florida, what should I do? And I said, either change jobs or quit, because now they're going to expect it every year.
Every
It's
year.
just part of what
Yeah.
happens as you go through. I do think there's been so much talk about Lane Kiffin moving, and you look at Matt Campbell, who I've got such great respect for. He leaves Iowa State and takes 24 players
Yeah.
with him to Penn State. So now we're hiring coaches and their teams.
Mhm.
North Texas goes to Oklahoma State when you start looking at it. So, but that's the system.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the other day, there's no loyalty more. We've got a system that doesn't ask for loyalty. Should Lane have stayed? If Lane stayed 3 years at Ole Miss and got fired, should he have missed that opportunity to go to LSU if he thought LSU was a better situation for him? And then people say he's disloyal. Well, that's the system.
Yeah.
Those players that leave during the playoff, is that disloyal? The players not playing in the bowl game, is that disloyal? Or is that our system? So we've got to go back, and if it's legal, people are going to do it.
Right.
And that's what we've done. We've said it's okay. It's okay to leave your team. Now, there's opinions, but it's okay by our system. And I think that when you look at Ole Miss and LSU, they got the portal down. Indiana's got the portal down. Texas Tech's always high in the portal.
Mm.
I think about what Vince just said about Diego. Diego, when they measured him, he wouldn't come up to Vince's waist. He's 5'9" or
5'9",
something.
3/4, yeah.
And what a competitor.
This-
And what a great player. They're going to miss that.
They're going to miss that.
And they've got a 5-star coming in that they wouldn't have gotten without Diego probably, but he's a rookie.
Yeah.
5-star freshman coming in. Diego will fight you, man.
Yeah. That's a tough kid.
In that alley, I don't want him right there with me. Now, we said he might start the fight, but he going to win it too when he gets in there. And it's interesting that it looks like Georgia's still trying to do it with high school players. And they've got great high school players around them. And Kirby wants to build it that way. I think they had 9 portal guys. Seems like Sark's trying to do it a little bit of both. He's got some portal guys, but he's got some great high school guys coming in. So he's still trying to do it that way. And then you've got the Indianas and the Vanderbilts and the Texas Techs, like we said, that are just overhauling their team. And it's just really interesting when you look at Oklahoma State. They lost 54. And Colorado, Deion still lost 52.
54.
And he's into his for a while. And then UCLA, new coach, they brought in the James Madison team. They've got 41 new ones. LSU got 40 new ones. And then we've got to look at what is tampering? What's going to happen between the Clemson Ole Miss situation?
Mm.
Is that going to change the way that people view this? I saw Steve Spurrier said, tell Dabo there are no rules.
Mm.
So if the NCAA doesn't step up, or if the NCAA says, okay, you have to miss the Missouri State game, is that worth that linebacker?
Right.
Right.
So until our penalties are going to be enforced and they're going to really have consequences for the guy that breaks the rules, we don't have rules. And that's it. I saw the after the Duke North Carolina basketball game, they charged they charged North Carolina $50,000 for rushing the court. They'd beat Duke for $50,000 any time in their lives. So you better charge more if you're going to keep them from rushing the court on a last second shot to beat Duke. That's just part of the life.
There's an interesting point you brought up though. Georgia going with just 9 in the transfer portal, I think is really interesting because you can look at a program like that and say he develops players. How long can you get away with keeping an offensive lineman that you're going to give $250,000 and everybody else is offering him $1 million? I mean, that's Steve Sarkisian dealt with that a little bit this year. So, and I think Sark, if he had it his way, would be closer to 9 than 25.
Well, I mean, it's to me, it's like, where's your loyalty? You got to be stuck with something that you believe in.
Yeah.
And another good example is the BYU coach. He could have went anywhere in the world, but he said, no, I'm staying here. See, that's what I'm looking for as a player, that I know that if it gets thick and thin, whatever may happen, he is so dedicated to me as a player, he'll at least give me the respect to tell me if I'm leaving. But at the same time, that's what I'm looking for as a player. And while all this stuff is going on with the Wild Wild West of you don't know what coach is going to be here, whatever's going on, but I'm sitting back and I'm looking at the example of the BYU coach and things like that. Like, that's who I want to be a part of. Somebody like, nah, they throwing all this money at me. And it's not even about money with me. It's about this program. Everybody, I embraced it. They embraced me here. And, when you find a home like that, you just got to just stick to it. So it's not a lot of it like that out there, but I can say that's a prime example of what players should be looking for when they're making a decision to go to college.
I want to follow up with you on that though, because I think that there's a really interesting line here between being an 18 or 19-year-old that maybe you don't have money or you have a little bit of money or whatever you have, and this is your one opportunity to say, okay, you're going to give me $250,000, but this other school is going to give me $1 million. That $1 million can take care of my family. I understand. You've talked about loyalty from day one since we started this podcast. Do you understand? Like, do you? Is there grace for those players that do take the money and go? Like how do you view it as a player?
You can't, because the contract is not guaranteed. You still got to get on the field. That's my point. Like that sounds good. That money, it sounds good for you and your family. And I never said I'm always do what's best for yourself and your family. Sure. But what I'm saying is I'm looking for something long term. This is something that I'm finna go put my sweat and tears in, and that's just me because I'm older. I'm gonna go earn it. So this is what I'm teaching my kids. Yeah. Like, that looks good, son, but after that, after that $1 million, right? That made you happy. Where you gonna make that another meal at again? And the only way you can make that another meal again is you earn it and fight for it and work for it. A lot of these people, they make a decision just because that agent telling you to do this, that coach telling you to do this, but the thing that's going to hurt these kids, like Coach and everybody been saying, that mental stuff, like right now, there's still kids in the portal right now, and they worrying about money.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, you're not even worrying about playing. Like, you still got to get on the field. And if you was coming to University of Texas where I was at, and you finna try to they brought you in, and they gave you this money, but you still got to take this job from me.
Yeah.
And they not thinking like that. So that's the only reason I keep saying this over and over again. Like, it's fine to go get the money and all this, but have you earned it? Are you doing the things behind the scene? Or are you building a team chemistry with your guys? That stuff right there is going to win your game. But if you coaches out here looking for players this for that, you're not going to win no championship game. Or if you doing that, if you leaving somebody, or you going to, like we said earlier, a university that's developing quarterbacks, developing you as then that's another kind of story. But if you just leaving because of money, like that's not going to work in this world.
It's such a great point, Vince. It really is. I think you make a lot of really good points there. From a coach's perspective, you're dealing with the budget, and you're dealing with, I've got to pay certain players amount of money. You want to be a coach that develops. I know that. I know you want to. Offensive linemen, it takes them a couple years. I mean, that's the one position where it's like, it's hard to get on, unless you're Kelvin Banks. It's going to be hard to get on the field that first year. But you don't get that anymore. You don't get to, I mean, Nick Brooks leaves for Alabama after 1 year at Texas when he has this opportunity to develop here and stay in the system and do everything else. And I'm not saying I fault Nick, but he's an example of, I'm going to go here instead of staying and developing. How tough is that part of it as a coach going, I want to develop, but I also understand that there's the money side of it too.
Yep.
Yeah, I think again it's a system. In Vince's time, Nick would have stayed here. He wouldn't have thought about leaving because it wasn't part of it. And all these kids now are embarrassed over the money, so they always say it's not the money. Well,
It's the money.
why'd you bring it up?
It's the money.
So I thought 2 or 3 things that Vince said. Kalani Shitaki's a good friend of mine. He is BYU. Played for Coach Edwards there, stayed there, and BYU needed to step up. So that's part of this process too. So when he talked to Penn State, BYU said, "You're not leaving." He said, "Well, help me, man," and they did. He's got 15 family members that live there.
Mm-hmm.
So he's moving a village. He's moving
Right.
everybody if he goes to Penn State. And I love him, but he is passionate with those players. Then the second thing you've got to ask yourself now, and Vince just alluded to it, where do you want to be in 5 years?
Right.
You're transferring all these places. You want to live at that last one you're transferring to? Because that's going to be who knows you.
Right.
You want to get a job out there? You want to stay there the rest of your life? Or are you going to think about where am I going to be in 5 years? Where am I going to be in 10 years? Where do those two things fit me? We had an offensive lineman that was committed to us that I loved. And I won't get into names and all that. He was committed to us for 18 months at North Carolina my last year. A West Coast school offered him $850,000 when I was paying him $36,000. I flunked out of Vanderbilt, but I can figure that's a big difference.
It's a huge difference.
It's a huge difference. So his parents cried and they loved me, and I said, I got it. Now, he just transferred back to the ACC after a year because he didn't want to be out there. So you've got to be careful, like Vince said, when you start looking at taxes and what 37% is gone up front, and I'll never forget, and it's why another reason I love Drake Maye. Drake Maye got offered millions of dollars, and we weren't paying him very much at all. We got him a little bit more, and he said, I don't care. If I'm going to make my money, it's going to be in the NFL anyway, if I'm going to make big money. Because him living in Charlotte and being loyal to North Carolina and those fans was going to be bigger for him for NIL after he got through than a few more $1 million at that stage. Omarion Hampton, starting running back for the Chargers now. His dad got offered $1.5 million. We were paying him very little. I said, I don't know that I'd stay. Why do you stay?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't sit here and tell you if I'm you, I stay. And he said, because you've treated my son right. It's the right place for him. He feels comfortable. He's developed here. He's growing here. We know you're going to give it to him, but we know you're going to take care of him in practice. And if he's going to make big money, it's going to be next year anyway. And he's the 16th pick in the draft. So I think that we've put families in a very difficult position because when you say $850,000 to 36, it's a no-brainer. But is that the best place for you 5 years from now?
Right.
And is that money going to be worth it? Because that money is not going to let you live the rest of your life. It goes fast.
Very fast.
It goes fast. And Vince told me something one time that really got my attention. I said, how is it having money? How's a young guy with money? And I want to get this right, so you help me if I get it wrong. But basically, it lets you do things you couldn't have done easier. You can get there easier. You can stay in nicer places. But it's a real problem because everybody you know wants your money.
Everybody.
Every friend, every cousin, everybody. I got cancer. Can you help me with money? I've lost my job. Can you help me with money? And so money's not the only answer for happiness.
No, it's not.
And everybody says, well, you got some. So you're not worried about that. But still, there are consequences for having that money.
Yes, it is. Especially at that age.
And especially at that age.
Yeah.
And everybody trying to get a piece.
Everybody.
And they all think what you got's a lot more than what it is.
Yeah. And I just wish they stopped posting it too. Like, that kid just made 2.5.
Yep.
Why?
Yep.
You don't post everybody else's industry what they making.
Right.
Yeah. All of his buddies saying, hey, man, let's hang out.
And you mentioned Drake Maye. There's not a big difference in 1 million to 2 million when you're going to make 40 when you go to the NFL. So
No.
And look at him. So, and he made a sacrifice for his family and for what he wanted. That's what our players are missing. They going off what everybody else want for them. But do you want that? Like, yeah, you going to this school that's giving you $800K, like Coach just said, but is that an environment you want to be in?
Right.
And then you get there and you're like, oh, this is not me.
Yeah.
Well, and Omarion Hampton and Drake Maye will forever be heroes to North Carolina fans and in that state. When they're 60, people will be talking about the games they played and how they won and all of those type things. And that would not have been the case if they left for a one-year school.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great discussion, and we'll continue it. It's one that we've had quite a few times, and I think the part of it that just it gets you is that all of those things for those kids
Well,
and
Bob,
what they're coming up with.
I'm sorry, but
No.
if I could finish here, 3,200 kids went in the portal in FBS. There's still 1,200 kids in there. So if that's Vince's son, if that's Jordan, he got no place to go.
Right.
And Vince has always said that third party, that agent, convinced him to get in the portal. It is tampering, but you better know where you're going if you get in that portal. And some of these kids were run off.
Yeah.
For
Some of
sure.
them couldn't stay. So that's it too. But how about the families out there of those 1,200 kids that have no place to go?
Right.
They lost their scholarship. They got no school. And we're already in another semester. It's life-changing now.
Yes, it is.
And I know some of them thought, I'm going to hop in and then I'll just go back to my school.
Yeah.
And the school was like,
Yeah,
no,
well.
like we're good. We went in the portal, got other guys. So
Again, it's like that wife that she left you and then it didn't work out and she wanted to come back and you said,
listen about that.
Things aren't as good. Yeah. We need to talk.
We need to talk. The 4 words you don't ever want to hear. All right. We won't get down the love is blind road.
Right. That's
We'll
another
stay here.
episode. That's
Another episode. Hey, we got plenty of them coming, so maybe we'll get into some relationship advice. If you need that, you could always go to the Stampede UT and ask us to. You can rate and review us, but we'd much more rather have your relationship.
Yeah, don't
questions.
ask Sally.
Don't ask Sally.
About that.
Is Sally on
relationship
social
advice?
media?
Yeah. No, she's not.
Oh man, that's so funny.
Thank you guys as always for joining us. It's always a blast. We'll do it again next week. We're really excited about this continuing through the spring. I know I've had a lot of people ask, is it over now that football's over? No, we're still going. We're full go. There's so much to talk about in college football.
So much.
You guys know every week there's something new and crazy that's going on in this sport right now. So we're here for it. For Vince Young and Mack Brown, I'm Bob Ballou. We always appreciate you joining us for this edition of The Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns.